The parable of the prodigal son, Luke's Gospel, chapter 15, verses 11 through 32. And Jesus said, A certain man had 2 sons, and the younger of them said to his father, Father, give me the next portion of the estate. And the father divided the estate to them. After a few days, the younger son gathered everything and went to the far side, and there he squandered his possessions, living promiscuously. And when he had lived all, there came a great famine in that country, and he began to be in need. And he went and came to one of the inhabitants of that country, and the latter sent him into his fields to feed the pigs. And he was glad to fill his belly with the horns which the pigs ate, but no one gave him. But when he came to himself, he said, How many of my father's hirelings are overflowing with bread, but I am dying of hunger? I will get up and go to my father and say to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you, and am no longer worthy to be called your son. Accept me as one of your hirelings. And he arose and went to his father. And when he was still far away, his father saw him and had compassion on him. And he ran and fell on his neck and kissed him. And the son said to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you, and am no longer worthy to be called your son. And his father said to his servants, Bring the best clothes and dress him, and give him a ring for his hand and shoes for his feet, and bring a fatted calf and slaughter it. We will eat and be merry. For this son of mine was dead and has come to life, was lost and has been found. And they began to rejoice. But his eldest son was in the field, and returning, when he came near the house, he heard singing and rejoicing. And calling one of the servants, he asked, What is this? He said unto him, Thy brother is come, and thy father hath slain a fatted calf, because he took it healthy. He was angry and would not come in. But his father went out and called to him. But he said in answer to his father, Behold, I have served thee so many years, and have never come at thy bidding. But thou hast never given me even a goat, that I might have fun with my friends. And when this son of thine, who wasted his possessions with harlots, came, thou didst slaughter a fatted calf for him. And he said unto him, My son, thou art always with me, and all that is mine is thine. And that thou shouldest rejoice and be glad, that this thy brother was dead and was made alive, was lost and was found. Explanation of the parable. This parable is one of the most famous and powerful in the Bible. Its central theme is God's unconditional love and forgiveness and the different responses of people to mercy and compassion. Symbolism. The father is the image of a loving and forgiving God. The younger son represents the sinners who have drifted away from God but have found their way back through repentance. Elder son represents those who have followed the laws and commandments but feel resentment and envy because of the mercy shown to others. The wasting of property symbolizes a loss of spiritual state, a departure from God's will. Returning home, an act of repentance and return to the truth. Main ideas. God's forgiveness. God accepts sinners who are truly repentant, regardless of their past actions. Eldest son's response. This character raises the issue of justice. He emphasizes that even those who follow the laws can experience envy and misunderstanding of God's mercy. Joy of return. Every person who returns to God becomes a cause for rejoicing in heaven. Life application. The parable of the prodigal son remains relevant at all times, as it reflects the depth of human nature and divine mercy. In family relationships, this parable teaches forgiveness and patience. Often people in a family may make mistakes and drift apart, but it is important to remember that sincere repentance and love can restore broken relationships. Parents, like the father in the parable, can show unconditional love to their children despite their mistakes. In the spiritual life, everyone can drift away from their spiritual roots. Like the younger son, we sometimes spend our time and energy on empty pleasures, forgetting the higher values. This parable inspires us to return to God and start anew, knowing that forgiveness is always available. In the social sphere, the parable reminds us of the importance of acceptance and mercy for those who have made mistakes. Instead of condemnation, it is worth reaching out and supporting those who seek to change. Personal application examples. A man who struggled with addiction for a long time found the strength to seek help and start a new life. This parable reminds us that everyone deserves a second chance. The parents who forgave their son for a serious transgression kept the family together and helped him change his behavior. Contemporary examples. The story of the prodigal son echoes real situations that happen in our lives. A young man who left his hometown in search of easy money squandered his savings on unnecessary pleasures. After experiencing loneliness and disappointment, he returned home to his family, who welcomed him with open arms. The girl, having quarreled with her parents, lived away from home for a long time until she realized her mistake. She came to them with apologies, and her meeting was the beginning of a new stage in their relationship. The businessman, who lost everything because of his wrong decisions, found support from his friends and family. Their forgiveness and help gave him the strength to make a fresh start. These examples emphasize that love and forgiveness always have a place in our lives if we are willing to change. Conclusion. The parable of the prodigal son is not just a story about family. It tells us about love, forgiveness, envy, and joy, which are relevant in all areas of life. It reminds us of the power of repentance and God's willingness to accept us as we are if we sincerely seek to change. By applying this parable to our lives, we can better understand our relationships with loved ones, community, and the spiritual values that unite us with God and each other. Psychological parsing. This parable has deep psychological overtones that provide insight into how a person's inner conflicts and emotions work. The younger son shows the path of personal growth through mistakes. His story reminds us that only through awareness of our actions and sincere repentance can change be achieved. The older son reflects our feelings of injustice and envy. These emotions are natural, but overcoming them is important for inner peace. The father symbolizes the ideal of unconditional love. His image inspires us to be more tolerant and gentle with people, even if their actions have hurt us. Psychologists often use this story as a metaphor to explain family conflicts and how to resolve them. It teaches that forgiveness and love can restore even the most broken relationships.